It happened in front of everyone. The cameras were rolling, the room was packed, and the tension? You could feel it in your bones. Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General and legal powerhouse, was calmly answering questions in a Senate hearing, when Senator Elizabeth Warren entered the room like a storm. Warren didn't ask a question, she launched an attack. "You should be ashamed," she said sharply. "You're defending something no American should stand for." Everyone went quiet. This wasn't just politics anymore, this was personal. And what Pam Bondi said next? Nobody saw it coming. Not even Elizabeth Warren. Before we get to what Pam Bondi said, before we break down that one sentence that stopped Elizabeth Warren in her tracks, you need to understand who these two women really are. Because this wasn't just a political disagreement. This was a head-on collision between two of the most controversial and powerful women in American politics. And it was always bound to explode. Pam Bondi isn't your typical political figure. She's not loud. She doesn't tweet every thought. But when she walks into a courtroom or hearing, people listen. Born and raised in Florida, Bondi made a name for herself as a fearless prosecutor, known for going after drug lords, scammers, and even big pharma. She didn't care how rich or powerful you were, if you were dirty, she was coming for you. By the time she became Florida's Attorney General, her reputation was cemented, cool under pressure. Surgical with words. And always 3 moves ahead of her opponent. Later, she served as a legal advisor for President Trump during the impeachment saga. That's when the spotlight got brighter, and the enemies got louder. But Pam never blinked. She was calm, but never weak. Quiet, but never soft. And when she speaks, people remember. Now on the other end of this battle, Senator Elizabeth Warren. A former Harvard law professor turned progressive icon, Warren is the exact opposite of Bondi in both tone and tactics. She rose to national fame by calling out Wall Street, grilling CEOs, and vowing to fight for the little guy. Her speeches are fiery. Her words are sharp. She dominates the microphone like a preacher at a revival rally. To her supporters, she's a hero of justice, fearless, bold, and principled. But to her critics, she's, well, a little too dramatic. Too loud. Too angry. Too quick to point fingers before looking in the mirror. Still, there's one thing no one can deny: Elizabeth Warren knows how to throw a punch. But the question is, can she take one? So when these two women ended up in the same Senate hearing room, with cameras flashing and the nation watching, everyone knew something was about to happen. Warren, known for confrontations. Bondi, known for counterpunches that sting without warning. Warren wasn't there to ask polite questions. She came to challenge, to shame, to discredit. And Bondi? She sat still. She didn't move. But behind those eyes? She was already preparing that one line that would shatter the room. What happened next wasn't loud. It wasn't a fight. It was a checkmate. And we'll get to that in just a second. It didn't feel like just another Senate hearing. No, this one had weight. The kind of weight you feel in your chest before something big happens. The room was packed, senators, reporters, aides, and cameras, all locked in on a quiet but powerful figure sitting calmly at the witness table, Pam Bondi. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't smiling. She was simply composed. She had been called to speak on a controversial legal defense tied to former President Trump's impeachment, a position many in the room already hated. But Bondi didn't care. She wasn't there to win hearts. She was there to state her case. Then suddenly, the door opened. And in walked Senator Elizabeth Warren. Late. Loud. And ready for war. Warren didn't take a breath before going in. She didn't ask questions. She made accusations. "Fire, you're here to protect power, not the people," she said, her voice slicing through the tension. "Fire, you're using your law degree to twist truth, not to serve justice. You stand there like you care about the law, but do you even care about what this is doing to our country?" The hearing room went dead silent. Not a cough. Not a pen tap. Even the cameras stopped moving. Warren had just unloaded a political shotgun straight at Bondi's chest, and everyone was watching to see if she would flinch. She sat still, almost too still. Her hands folded. Eyes locked. There was no rush to defend herself. No scrambling for notes. No emotional reaction. Instead, she waited. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. The silence became heavier than Warren's words. People started shifting in their seats. The press didn't know whether to keep recording or brace for a scene. And then Pam Bondi leaned slightly forward, her voice calm but deadly clear, and said, "Senator Warren, I don't take lectures on justice from someone who lied about being Native American to get ahead." That was it. Just one sentence. But it landed like a grenade. You could feel the air sucked out of the room. People gasped. Some jaws literally dropped. Even Warren, who had been fire and thunder just moments ago, stood frozen. She blinked, but didn't respond. Pam Bondi didn't raise her voice. She didn't fire back a paragraph. She didn't need to. She had said just enough. And that's what made it so brutal. Because in that one sentence, Bondi did what no yelling or political grandstanding could ever do, she exposed the weakness behind the noise. Pam Bondi didn't raise her voice. She didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. Instead, she slowly leaned forward, eyes fixed directly on Senator Elizabeth Warren. And with the calm precision of a veteran prosecutor about to deliver a fatal blow, she said, "Senator Warren, I don't take lessons on justice from someone who lied about being Native American for personal gain." The moment she finished speaking, the room went completely still. For a split second, even the cameras seemed to pause. And then it hit, boom. You could almost hear the gasp ripple across the room. One reporter at the back dropped their pen. A young intern's eyes widened like they had just witnessed history. Warren stood frozen, not furious, not defensive, just shocked. It was as if someone had turned the oxygen down in the chamber. Pam Bondi hadn't argued. She hadn't thrown a tantrum. She had delivered a surgical strike, cold, controlled, and devastating. What made it so brutal wasn't the volume, it was the accuracy. In one line, Bondi had not only neutralized Warren's attack, but flipped the spotlight back on her. A spotlight that reminded everyone of a controversy Warren had tried desperately to bury, pushpin the time she claimed Native American ancestry for professional gain. Pushpin the DNA test. The media frenzy. The public backlash. Pushpin the apology that came too late. And Bondi didn't even have to explain it. She just named it. That's all it took. The audience remembered. The press remembered. And Warren remembered. In political showdowns, you often expect raised voices, heated rebuttals, chaos. But what Bondi delivered was the opposite, a masterclass in controlled devastation. She waited for the right moment. She chose the sharpest words. And she said it once. Just once. But that sentence? It echoed far louder than Warren's entire tirade. It didn't just counter the attack, it rewrote the scene. Suddenly, Pam Bondi wasn't the one on trial. Suddenly, the people watching began asking a different question. Wait, didn't Elizabeth Warren really do that? Why is she lecturing anyone on justice? And just like that, the balance of power in the room shifted. Pam Bondi didn't win by fighting. She won by remembering. By reminding the world that before you throw stones, you better check your own glass house. The moment instantly went viral. Clips of Bondi's calm reply flooded social media. Conservatives hailed it as a masterclass in composure. Even some neutral viewers admitted Pam Bondi won that round. Warren didn't respond publicly. Her team stayed silent. And that said a lot. In the days that followed, Bondi gained thousands of new followers online. Conservative media replayed the moment again and again. Even some left-leaning outlets called it a strategic hit. But Bondi didn't brag. She went back to work, as always, focused, sharp, and steady. This wasn't about winning a fight. It was about sending a message: if you try to corner me, I'll remind you exactly who you are. That's what made it so powerful. Not just the words, but the control behind them. So what do we learn from this? In politics, words are weapons. But silence, timing, and truth can be even more powerful. Pam Bondi didn't yell. She didn't argue. She just waited, and delivered one unforgettable sentence. And whether you agree with her or not, you'll remember what she said.